This Demon King was just too gentle. He merely wanted to step outside to clear his mind, but unexpectedly stumbled upon a poor princess who had just been rejected from her arranged marriage. But before he could even get a good look at the girl, the royal guards had already locked their eyes on him. Yet with his sharp instincts, he had already sensed their presence and swiftly moved behind them. In a panic, one of the guards shot an arrow, but how could it possibly hurt someone who could use illusion magic? However, with just a single signal from the guard, he was instantly surrounded by humans. The knight, who had always hated humans, originally planned to live alone forever in the forest, but just the night before, a girl had run into the woods wearing high heels, wounded all over, fleeing desperately from something. She was being hunted by the kingdom's knights who chased her this far, but someone reminded them that this was the Demon King's territory, so they were forced to retreat and look elsewhere, while the princess, still terrified, continued to flee deeper into the forest. But due to the darkness and her rush, she fell straight down a cliff. Just before losing consciousness, she saw a warm light glowing ahead. This was the gentle Demon King's home. The next morning, as the breeze blew, he sensed someone had entered his land and decided to investigate. Thinking it was just a gathering of magical creatures, he arrived only to find a girl. He planned to take her back and heal her, but the kingdom's knights soon arrived, demanding he hand her over and they would leave, but warning that if he protected her, they would show no mercy. The Demon King firmly refused. The knights, believing her to be helpless with her arms restrained, prepared to attack together to finish her. But to their shock, she began casting powerful magic. Then the soldiers noticed her half-black, half-white hair and were stunned. She was the Demon King. Not only did she possess incredible magic, but also a calm and sharp mind. To prevent the guards from returning with information, she confused their memories, making them believe they had lost track of the girl. She carefully brought the girl back home and took great care of her. As she was preparing tea, the girl woke up. The Demon King gently asked why she had ended up here. The princess lied, saying she was just lost, not realizing she was already listed as a serious criminal, but she didn't seem to mind. With her heart racing, the Demon King told her not to worry. She had the ability to see through lies. For some reason, the girl suddenly started crying, leaving the rough Demon King completely flustered. It turned out the princess felt this was the first time someone truly believed her. After she calmed down, she revealed the reason she was being hunted. Years ago, she had been engaged to the prince, but because she was the child of a concubine, she had never even spoken to him. On the day of the grand banquet, she believed she was finally going to marry the prince, but instead he falsely accused her of a crime and publicly annulled their engagement, even throwing her into prison. Tearfully, the princess questioned what she had done wrong to be so hated by the prince. The innocent princess couldn't understand, but the Demon King knew the schemes behind human royalty. Either the prince didn't want to marry a concubine's daughter or had found someone new. The princess didn't want to trouble the man any further, but the Demon King suddenly asked if she could do housework. He openly admitted he didn't like cleaning, and the princess shyly said she didn't mind. Without waiting for her to hesitate, he had already decided to hire her, assuring her she'd be well paid. The princess worriedly reminded him she was a wanted criminal. Then the Demon King shared his story. 3 years ago, she had joined an adventuring team full of excitement for unknown lands and joyful journeys. But the team had only used her to break through the temple's seal, and once they got the treasure, they threw her into a pile of monsters and abandoned her. They had never intended to keep her. The Demon King didn't expect the princess to believe her so easily. She thought this would make the princess stay. But the princess still worried about causing trouble, so the Demon King used her final tactic. With a crisp snap of her fingers, she threatened that if the princess didn't agree to work for her, her heart would stop beating in 3 minutes. This was clearly the perfect method for dealing with kind-hearted girls. With the Demon King's dramatic performance and the mysterious countdown, the next day's weather was lovely. The princess completed the housework, waiting for the Demon King to inspect. When the Demon King saw it, she was deeply impressed. As a noble daughter of a duke, the princess still seemed happy doing housework. The Demon King noticed how clean and neat she worked. The princess humbly said she used to help out at home too, but the Demon King had already noticed her fingers were rough. Clearly, her status at home wasn't as high as her title suggested, likely treated more like a servant. So the Demon King gently praised her, which made the princess excitedly ask if there was any more work to do. But the Demon King said there was nothing for now, letting her have free time before dinner. Then she headed to her study, saying she had some work to do while the princess walked out a bit disappointed. Though this man had saved her, he didn't seem used to being with others. He believed that even though the girl felt grateful now, she'd soon grow tired of him and leave on her own. He even considered leaving some money in a noticeable place to make it easier for her to steal and escape. Now, it was time to enjoy one of her few hobbies, reading the latest research papers on magical theory. Clearly, this demon was a bit of a nerd. Unknowingly, she worked straight into the evening, and just as she turned around to light the lamp, the princess, being far too adorable, caught her attention again. So the Demon King asked her if she had any hobbies. After thinking for a while, the princess said she didn't. The Demon King asked what she usually did at home. The princess replied that besides learning bridal etiquette, she spent her time cleaning and sewing. The Demon King was speechless. How could she say something so tragic with a smile? And as the questions continued, the more he learned about the princess's miserable past, the more unbearable it became for the Demon King. Because even when Charlotte's sister gave him rotten fruit as a child, people still believed it was one of his happiest memories. Back when he studied at the Magic Academy, he used to bombard his professors with endless questions until they nearly cried, and while conducting magic potion experiments, he blew up several classrooms. Even someone like him had once experienced moments of joy. But in what should have been the happiest part of Charlotte's life, she had no hobbies, no happy memories, only suffering. So he made a decision. That very night, the Demon King went out and returned carrying bags upon bags of supplies. He had sold his demon tools for cash, just to help this girl learn how to be happy. And as a Demon King, he wasn't going to offer her ordinary joy. He was going to introduce her to the kind of happiness that becomes addictive. The first thing he wanted her to do was enjoy dinner that night, eat to her heart's content without holding back. As he demonstrated by gulping down food himself, he imagined how the girl probably never had a proper meal back at the Duke's mansion. So he personally brought out the most popular cake in the entire city and placed it in front of her to tempt her. But Charlotte felt she couldn't continue accepting kindness from the Demon King. In the end, he stood firm as her employer and ordered her to obey him completely. If she dared resist again, he threatened to cast the death curse before her eyes once more. With no choice, Charlotte began eating, but when she finished, she lowered her head with a darkened expression. The Demon King assumed maybe the cake had tasted bad, but it was the opposite. The cake was so delicious that she felt unworthy of such happiness. The Demon King then told her that from this day on, he would show her every form of joy in the world. He would let Charlotte taste countless foods, see all kinds of breathtaking sceneries from every corner of the earth, and experience all sorts of joyful moments until she was overwhelmed with delight. He was determined to change her so that one day she could proudly say that she was the happiest girl alive. Charlotte asked him why. Why was he being so kind to her when they were strangers? Even the Demon King didn't know the answer. Maybe, just maybe, he had already fallen in love with her, and so the two of them spent an ordinary yet unforgettable night together. This Demon King was truly too gentle. To protect a small island that was on the verge of destruction, he decided to challenge the terrifying Fenrilm wolf alone. Just how powerful was this mother wolf? In the very first round of battle, she swallowed him whole in a single bite. But he was a Demon King after all, and he quickly used thunder magic to paralyze the magical wolf for a few seconds, giving him time to break free and escape to the side. He wanted to explain that it was all a misunderstanding, but the mother wolf, completely consumed by rage, launched a flurry of swift and fierce attacks. Even the Demon King found himself struggling. With no other option, he prepared to unleash his ultimate move to kill her. But why had the mother wolf lost control? It was because she was desperately trying to reunite with her cub. The zoo had once found the young magical wolf Fenrir injured, separated from his parents and wounded by poachers. The zoo tried to heal him, but not only could no one communicate with him, even casting healing magic from a distance proved difficult. Fortunately, the Demon King was visiting that day, and being fluent in the language of magical beasts, he was called to help. Originally, he just wanted to cheer up the heartbroken princess by charming animals to win her favor. He had already negotiated with rabbits using carrots and was about to set his plan in motion when he saw Charlotte's natural magical affinity. Although on the surface all the animals appeared joyful around her, the Demon King, who could understand them, knew the truth. Then he revealed a secret to her. She likely had the potential to become a magic user, with a gift for casting silent spells. The fact that animals loved her so much, even without magic, was proof of her immense natural talent. Just then, the zoo staff urgently called for their attention. It was about the young wolf. He hadn't eaten or drunk anything in days. Despite efforts from the Demon King and Charlotte to communicate, Fenrir had become so fearful he wouldn't listen to anyone. Things only escalated when a caretaker announced that a massive magical wolf was rapidly approaching the zoo. It was likely his mother. Panic spread instantly. This magical creature had lived in the region for 100 years. Its arrival could mean disaster. The Demon King Alan decided to step up. He first cast a protective barrier around the area and then began facing Fenrir in battle. Just as he was about to unleash a killing blow, a wild boar suddenly spoke. It turned out this boar was part of the infamous Hell Capybara clan, and he was behind the whole mess. His motive? Charlotte. That day, he had seen her collapse on the ground and had nearly rescued her until the Demon King appeared. After that, he heard rumors that Charlotte had become a fallen woman corrupted by an evil Demon King. So he began stalking her and eventually confirmed that someone so kind could never truly fall. To protect Charlotte, he believed he had to eliminate the Demon King. The wild boar immediately launched a powerful attack, so intense that even the Demon King was stunned. The boar was determined to destroy the nation if that's what it took to keep Charlotte safe. He even dispelled the magic the Demon King had placed on the wolves. Now, without reinforcements, the Demon King was trapped in a deadly situation. Just then, two ancient magical beasts descended from the sky. Charlotte had come to save him. She had successfully healed the young wolf and convinced him. Without realizing it, she had learned to speak the language of magical creatures. At last, mother and child were reunited, and it seemed the incident would end peacefully. But the boar had gone mad. He pleaded with Charlotte to leave the Demon King and come with him instead, blaming the Demon King for not avenging her wrongful suffering. Charlotte immediately shot back that only when she was with this man did she finally feel truly alive. Still, the boar believed only he could save her and tried to drag her away by force. The Demon King stood bravely in front of her to protect her. A brutal duel of ideals and strength broke out. In the end, it was the Demon king who emerged stronger, because he truly, deeply loved Charlotte. Together, they captured the one who had hurt Fenrir and delivered swift punishment. As the Demon King and Princess prepared to return home, Fenrir expressed his wish to go with her. The Demon King decided to take her home too, but to his surprise, the wild boar climbed into the carriage as well. He apologized for his earlier actions and insisted on making it up by becoming Charlotte's personal bodyguard. Ever since Charlotte had Fenrir by her side, her smile had become brighter and more genuine, but the wild boar kept teasing the Demon King, saying that with how little time he and the princess spent together, he might be abandoned soon. The Demon King wanted him gone, but the wild boar shamelessly declared, after all, he was Charlotte's family now. Indeed, what the wild boar said wasn't wrong. The Demon King had been feeling lonely during this time, but what made him happy was seeing Charlotte become motivated, studying diligently and working hard every single day. And finally, he advanced to become an ultimate magic user. After casting magic on Fenrir, the little wolf not only became more agile, but even learned how to speak. This made Charlotte adore him even more. Summer arrived, and one day the Demon King prepared a pool party for everyone to relax. Just as they were about to get in, the Demon King almost fainted from shock, and the little wolf was equally thrilled. The wild boar, worried he would dirty the water, suddenly cast a jaw-dropping spell. He transformed into a mature big sister, leaving everyone completely stunned, although his voice still sounded bizarre and awkward. Later, while resting, the Demon King explained that the pool was left by the former owner, who had mysteriously vanished. 30 years ago, this place was home to a strange elf who never interacted with people and spent all day at his desk. One day, he suddenly disappeared. Some said he committed suicide by jumping off a cliff after repeated research failures. Others claimed he was devoured by the very magical creature he created. Still others whispered he had developed forbidden magic and was now cursed with mushrooms growing all over his body, wandering the world. As the Demon King continued his storytelling, Charlotte stared in shock because the pool was now filled with clusters of mushrooms. The Demon King rushed to inspect, only to find the wild boar had apparently drowned. But before they could figure out what was going on, an elf suddenly popped out nearby, claiming they had stolen his precious mushrooms. It turned out he was the very same elf who used to live here, and he had locked himself in the basement in search of inspiration for his novels, only to emerge 30 years later to find the place lively and even rare magical beasts joining in. The moment he saw the Demon King and Charlotte, inspiration struck him, and he excitedly announced a grand idea. He wanted the two of them to express their love. They assumed he meant something intimate, but instead, he had them start filming short skits. This gave the Demon King the perfect excuse to finally have some close interactions with the princess, and he was so thrilled he accidentally headbutted a wall. Under the elf's strict directing, the Demon King donned a modern suit and Charlotte played a gentle wife, but every time she acted tenderly toward him, he got overwhelmed and ruined the scene, so they switched roles. This time, the Demon King played a superpowered hero saving the princess from an evil gang. But seeing Charlotte looking so pitiful, the Demon King went all in and almost beat the wild boar to death. After rescuing her, they even had a romantic scene, but the Demon King got so nervous that his hand punched through the wall. The performance was amazing, so they continued with another role, Snow White. Charlotte played a girl bullied by her wicked stepmother. One day, an elf, seeing her suffering, used magic to transform her so she could attend the prince's ball, where she danced elegantly with him in front of everyone. Later, the prince searched for her, but the stepmother lied, claiming to be the real owner of the slipper, only to be exposed by the prince. After much struggle, the prince found the real princess, and just as the two were about to reunite, the wall exploded. Not part of the script. It was the elf's editor from 30 years ago, coming for revenge. Apparently, after she pressured the elf to submit his manuscript, he vanished the next day. She had been planning his mutation ever since. Around that same time, Charlotte had learned that her younger sister Leah had gotten into trouble at the Magic Academy, so the entire group set off by boat to investigate. As the destination drew near, emotions grew heavy. The Demon King couldn't help but reflect. After just 3 years, he had already returned, something he never imagined unless it was for Charlotte. The Athena Magic Academy was the most prestigious magical school, sprawling across an entire island, where most residents were affiliated with the academy, and tourists often visited to sightsee. Though they successfully reached the island, Aluka didn't immediately explain Leah's situation. She said they would talk at home. Hearing the word home, Alan immediately didn't want to go. 3 years ago, he had resigned from the academy without permission, leading to a huge argument with his father and eventually leaving home. Though it was called an argument, in truth, the two powerful mages had battled for 3 straight days and nights. The marks of their fight still scarred the back of the island, which had now become a famous tourist photo spot. Meanwhile, Charlotte's nerves were focused elsewhere. She was about to meet his family and wasn't mentally prepared. Alan told her he had been orphaned at a young age and was adopted by the Clorford family, giving him everything he had now. Despite the fight with his father, their relationship remained strong, and they had never stopped writing to each other. Just then, a handsome white-haired man appeared before them, Aluka and Alan's father, and the headmaster of the entire academy. At home, the father was thrilled to see that Alan had grown up enough to bring home such a lovely girlfriend. Just as Alan was about to object, Aluka stepped on his foot with her high heel, giving him a sharp glare. Alan assumed Aluka had told the family he had a girlfriend so they wouldn't bring up that topic again, so he turned and gave Charlotte a pleading look. Understanding, Charlotte stood and politely told the father that the two of them were in a relationship. The father then asked when they planned to get married, since only once Alan settled down could he pass on the headmaster duties. So the dreaded topic had come up after all. Alan fiercely refused. Becoming the head of the top academy would certainly bring him fame, but he didn't want to be tied down by status and responsibility. The father explained that although they weren't related by blood, Alan was the only one who could inherit his legacy. Just then, a pink-haired girl entered pushing a food cart. She was Alan and Iluka's mother. The father's real reason for passing on the role? So he could spend every day stuck to his wife and have more cute babies. Alan didn't want to continue the topic and instead asked about Charlotte's sister. After some explanation, they learned that 3 months ago, Leah had left home due to family issues and enrolled in the academy. Though it was said she came to study, in truth, she might be in hiding. The faction conflict within the academy was becoming more and more intense, and ever since Leah had enrolled, her growth had been astonishing. She had now become the leader of a faction, dominating the academy, and due to certain unique traits, she was deeply adored by her followers. Although the academy had ways to handle it, the headmaster, Iluka, hoped students could learn in a free environment, which is why she used this opportunity to bring Alan back to solve the issue, because only problem children can truly understand and help each other. After discussing the situation, everyone decided to sleep for the night and head to the academy tomorrow. But what Alan didn't expect was that his mother thoughtfully arranged for him and Charlotte to share a room, since lovers, after all, should sleep together. The Demon King thus welcomed the second night of sharing a bed with his wife, and just like last time, the closeness made it impossible for either of them to sleep. Alan's thoughts drifted wildly, imagining all kinds of scenes between them. To stop his mind from going crazy, Alan tried casting a sleeping spell, but even after 2 attempts, nothing worked. After checking thoroughly, he realized the bed had been specially modified to be immune to magic. The only person capable of doing that would be his sister, Iluka. She had spared no expense just to push their relationship forward. Thanks to her efforts, the two of them didn't sleep a wink and woke up with dark circles under their eyes. But today, they had to visit the academy to find out more about Charlotte's sister, Leah. Since Charlotte was a wanted criminal, she had to disguise herself using magic, pretending to be Alan's assistant. Upon arrival, they found Leah near the fountain. She looked on guard as she stared at the people who had come looking for her, until Alan introduced himself as a newly hired temporary teacher. The little gang behind Leah began trembling. They all knew Alan as the worst student in the academy's history, and the title Demon King had originated right here. Alan then introduced Charlotte, claiming she was his assistant, and told Leah that both of them had been sent by the headmaster to be her personal tutors. But the tsundere Leah had no interest in talking to them. After they walked away, Charlotte was overwhelmed with emotion. This was the first time she had spoken to her sister in so long that she burst into tears. After that initial contact, Alan and Charlotte smoothly spoke to Leah again during class, and by the third time, the three were even sharing meals and chatting together. Through this process, Alan realized that though Leah appeared like a prideful problem child, she was actually kind-hearted and a genius with extraordinary intelligence. She had come to the academy to escape her selfish and greedy family, and to strengthen herself by learning powerful magic that would help her face any difficulty. Though she focused solely on her studies, her sense of justice made it impossible for her to stand by while the weak were bullied, and every time she intervened, she attracted resentment from others, eventually leading to the current faction war within the academy. Just then, another problem student came looking for trouble. Leah had no intention of engaging and dismissively told the challenger to make an appointment. There was already a line of people waiting. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed as Charlotte, who had been carrying food, was deliberately knocked over by the group of troublemakers. The righteous Leah couldn't stand by and kicked one of them flying. Seeing Charlotte bullied, Alan wouldn't tolerate it either. With a snap of his fingers, he created a subspace barrier. As the academy's former worst problem student, he intended to teach Leah a lesson in combat. First, cut off the enemy's escape route. Second, never let any of them go. And third, to make the enemy submit, you must fight until they're too afraid to try again. His charged magical energy swelled rapidly until it exploded after being struck by another spell. It was Charlotte using her newly learned Thunder Spirit magic to stop him. Afterwards, both Alan and Leah were forced to kneel and receive Charlotte's punishment. Although Charlotte was glad they stood up for her, fighting was still wrong. Adults should never bully kids. And so the Demon King began his conquest of the Magic Academy alongside his sister-in-law. Alan, who was supposed to help Leah reform, realized she was constantly harassed by other students, so he decided to teach her efficient methods to defeat enemies. Soon, no one in the school could rival her. Showing others the difference in power was the most effective tactic. First, he provoked the rival faction leader by challenging them in their area of expertise. From classroom experiments to private magic duels, from high-altitude monster training contests to the final showdown, retrieving a flag from deep within the dungeon and escaping faster than the opponent. Leah won the final match with a 30-minute lead, and her little underlings also received intense training. Under the capybara's coaching, the three finally held their heads high with pride. That evening, everyone gathered at the cafeteria for dinner. Exhausted from the day's training, Leah fell asleep right after eating, and the group group carried her back to her room. Though messy, her room was covered in study notes. Beside her pillow was her backpack, which her followers said was very important to her. If anyone touched it, she'd beat them up. The backpack was locked with several physical and magical seals, and she even held it while she slept. The next morning, Leah and Charlotte arrived early at school. It was the day Leah would teach Charlotte basic magic. After the lesson, the two sat down to chat, and soon they were talking about Leah's happy memories. Moved by the moment, Leah decided to share something important with Charlotte. But when they returned to the dorm to fetch her bag, it was gone. On the desk lay a letter of challenge. It seemed that Chris, who had lost yesterday's match, was unwilling to accept defeat and had issued a new challenge. When Leah arrived at the location, she saw her backpack in Chris's hand. Without saying much, Chris threw the bag down to the bottom of the dungeon, declaring whoever retrieved it first would be the winner. The race began. But why was Chris so furious? It was because she used to be known as the Academy's prodigy, until Leah, after transferring to the Academy, no matter whether it was in academics or practical skills, Chris found herself constantly losing to Leah, wounding her pride as a once-renowned genius. In an effort to finally defeat Leah, she set up the current competition, but in the end, Leah still retrieved her backpack first and won. What they didn't realize was that all this noise had awakened the dungeon's monsters, and now a terrifying chimera with a lion's head and a goat-like tail appeared in a fury, forcing the two girls to run for their lives. They hid behind a rocky hill and began whispering ideas. They had heard that the chimera could be scared off by loud sounds, but before they could act, Leah was struck by a magical blast from the creature. Just as things looked bleak, another magical force hit the chimera, startling it enough to flee. Charlotte had come all the way here, worried for Leah's safety, and had arrived just in time to use the magic Leah had taught her earlier that day. Leah was puzzled. Why would Charlotte, who had only known her for such a short time, care so deeply and risk her life to save her? Charlotte longed to tell Leah that she was her sister, but the words wouldn't come. Meanwhile, Alan, worried for their safety, was racing toward the dungeon. As the three girls began to relax, thinking the danger had passed, the ground started to tremble. The dungeon's enraged boss, the massive salamander, was awake and ready to attack. Facing impossible odds, Charlotte told Leah and Chris to escape while she stayed behind to distract the creature. She succeeded in drawing its attention, but just as she turned to flee, a direct hit knocked her unconscious. The magical disguise vanished, revealing her true appearance. The monster prepared for another attack until Alan arrived just in time, shielding her from harm. Seeing Charlotte injured made Alan furious. His unleashed power caused the entire island to tremble. That monster, once just a hatchling raised by Alan, recognized him after being beaten and finally backed down. With the danger gone, everyone gathered outside. Leah looked at Charlotte's golden hair and finally realized the truth. This was her sister. They embraced at last. Leah took a picture book from her backpack, one their sister used to read to her when they were little. After Charlotte was framed, hunted, and cast out by their family, all her possessions were discarded. This was the only item Leah had managed to find and keep safe. With peace restored at the academy, Charlotte and Alan finally returned home and were ready to enjoy some long-awaited alone time. But sweet moments never last. Soon, Mia delivered an anonymous package containing a hand-drawn magic circle. As Alan touched it, a flash of light erupted. It was a surprise the three had planned for Charlotte. Leah had decided to stay a few more days to secretly observe Alan and make sure he wasn't up to anything suspicious with her sister. Though Alan was frustrated, she was his sister-in-law, so he endured it. Then the door was violently pushed open as Dorothea arrived. Having written a popular romance manga inspired by Alan and Charlotte, she now wanted to write a drama script and needed to observe whether the couple's relationship had progressed. What was once a quiet space turned lively. Although Alan preferred peace and solitude, seeing Charlotte so happy filled his heart with warmth. As night fell, they all sat around a rich, warm dinner, sharing joys, worries, and laughter. After the meal, the group went to rest, and finally, Alan and Charlotte had a moment alone. They went out into the garden, where Alan had prepared countless tiny lights to illuminate their spot. Charlotte sat beside the fire and took the warm cocoa he offered her. They sipped it together under the starry sky. Alan gently placed his hand over Charlotte's, and in that quiet moment, their heartbeats echoed softly between them. With honest words, they expressed their deepest feelings. Their hands tightened, their eyes locked, and as they leaned in closer, it felt like the entire world paused just for them.